So I was in the surgical department, and right away her cousins came from Israel to organize that big exit of 1947 from Romania, Poland, Hungary, and Bulgaria. And I didn't want to live in Romania anymore. I just simply didn't want to live there. Magda, no, she wanted, but finally she gave up. And her mother came with us too. Yeah. And I worked then as a physician for that, for the organization that was collecting all these people that wanted to go. Were 15,000. And I was one of the physicians that were examining them, somebody had tuberculosis or illness like that. He couldn't go, had to be treated first. Then we finally left in the last days, practically, of maybe last week of December of 1947. Did I ever tell you?
Well, that's when you went to Cyprus?
Well, I didn't go to Cyprus. It ended in Cyprus, but I was still in Bucharest. And there's, let's say, by December 25 or 24 or what, So that's when we were supposed to leave. So interestingly enough, they put us in open cattle wagons, and the train then got to the Danube. Um, and we got out and we went on a huge raft, open raft. It was just the platform to cross the Danube. And it was midnight. It was very cold. The Romanian winters are really cold. So it was very cold. The sky was full of stars. Yeah. I don't remember the moon, but I remember all those stars. I remember it was cold. And stand hundreds of people there were standing there on the platform and across the Danube, to the Bulgarian border. Then we got out, and was the railroad right there, and again open cattle wagons to go there. So I'd never told you that.
Well, you told me about not the exact details on that, but I know about you going to Cyprus, eventually getting to Cyprus, but I didn't.
No, this part you don't know?
Uh-uh.
Well, so we get to these cattle wagons, of course, open, and I get up. And I turn around in order to pick Magda and my mother-in-law to lift him up there. When a bunch of Polish, Russian guys who were in the Soviet army, and then they got out of it and they decided to go to Israel. And those people just have very little education, a very rough type of characters, They came and they pushed Magda and my mother-in-law away, just like that, As if it was an urgency to get in. After, we really got in, about 4 or 5 hours before they moved us. But, idiots like that, and, noise and all that. So I got the very first one that came up, and got him by the neck and by his balls. And I threw him on the others. I lifted him up and threw him on the others, Now, it's a risky thing. What if those guys want to beat me up? But, these assholes are cowards, Because if you do that to them, suddenly they are very good and they wait, So I was able to pull up Magda and my mother-in-law. And then they came very silently after that and went to the other part of that thing. So I never told you that.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah. So now, 4 or 5 hours later, and then they took us to the port of Burgas, on the Black Sea there in Bulgaria, and were those two ships waiting for us. 7,500 people on each ship.
7.5.
Yeah. And so it's, underneath, they had this huge, just a board, on one side, the other side, and that's on which you were lying. And you were just like sardines, basically, because somebody turned, everyone else had to turn, all that. And it took us, however, a day or two before we got away from there. And interesting enough, then that neurosurgeon who became my teacher, he was on the same ship with me, too, so that's when I met him. And there were some other physicians, a general surgeon, a young general surgeon, I remember, and some other number of guys, And yeah. And then finally, when we left, it was the Black Sea was not outright stormy, but had big waves, not so nice. And the sky was gray and the sea was dark, ugly. But then we came to Istanbul, on the Sea of Marmara, and got out in the Aegean Sea, the Greek Sea that is between Greece and Turkey. And that was beautiful. The sun was shining. The sea was like a mirror, so smooth, And interestingly enough, then some order came to go down, and air wasn't so good, from all those many people, and I wanted to stay out there, and I just barely escaped from the communists. They tell you what to do, this and that, Here, I didn't see why I should go down, And the guy was one of the Israeli sailors, because they had a sort of a slender guy, very limber, and he was speaking Hebrew. I didn't understand anything. And I said I didn't want to go, And then he was, and he became sort of threatening. And I was thinking, if he wants something, I'm going to beat him up, And then that one of the physicians that actually were from Palestine and came to Bucharest to help us in organizing all these people, he came and he said, just don't think that you are going to beat him up. These guys are trained to kill. These are special forces characters. And he was saying something, harog, harog. I didn't know what the hell that is in Hebrew. It means kill. He told me that he's going to kill me, that asshole. As and I was really angry, and that physician then calmed that guy down and told me I better. If they, for some reason, they wanted to have people off the deck, I better comply. So I went down. And so what happens then, a short time later on, there were these 5 British warships that surrounded us, there, and told us to either go to Cyprus, or if we continue, then they don't guarantee our safety, And you know what I found out later on, years later on? A nurse that was involved with all these things wrote a book about this particular area. And she said that our 2 ships were wired to be blown up because some idiot in that underground government of Palestine, in expectation of the state of Israel been declared a few months later on. Some of these politicians were thinking that maybe if the British give it enough trouble and they're going to blow up, ship with all 7,500 people and going to create one of those big universal drama that's going to create lots of public relations and all that. Did you hear of Masada?
Mm-hmm.
You know Masada?
I've heard of it, but
You don't know what it
explain
is.
to me.
Well, the Roman Hebrew Wars in the first century after Christ, there were a number of the Hebrew warriors that didn't want to give up to the Romans, They didn't want to be slaves.
Magda,
And
look, you got ready fast.
Yeah, I have.
Very fast. I wish Susan could get ready that fast.
Oh,
Huh? She's
I
slow.
got it fast.
Yes.
I have to do
The
my
story's
hair.
not even over, and you're done.
The hair has to be, I do
I'm
my
just
hair.
telling him about Masada. Let me finish this here quickly.
Okay, I'm going to clean the onions.
Well,
said?
you should look also what I bought here, and then I'll explain
Oh, I
everything.
see.
So these guys then withdrew into southern Israel, into a fortress that was built by one of their last kings about 100 years before. It was on the mountain with lots of caves, and it was called Masada. Okay.
Excuse me, this goes in the freezer or not?
No, this just had to be refrigerated.
And this goes in the freezer?
All
the
refrigerated.
lasagna?
All three are refrigeration. And so there were 900 soldiers with their wives and children. Okay. The Romans came there and surrounded them, and they couldn't get anywhere with them. But the time sort of ran out. They ran out of food, water, and they knew that this has to finish. They didn't want to become Roman slaves because, see, all prisoners of war became slaves. Their wives became slaves. Their children became slaves. They didn't want that. And they had a suicide pact that each man kills his own wife and children, and then the next in line kills him, and then this goes to the very last one that has to kill himself. So they did that. And when the Romans, they just saw that nothing happens for a while. They knew they cannot storm it like that. But they waited to see some action, and for a couple of days they didn't see any action. So they went in, and they saw all that, and they really get all vomiting and sick, the Roman soldiers didn't expect that. So that's the famous Masada, this mass suicide. Either you are free or you are dead, And some of these politicians, assholes, they wanted to do it without it. They wired those ships that may create something. Unfortunately, the good reason prevailed, And we didn't know anything, and I was so angry, when I read about it years later, because I was never asked what I want to do. They didn't ask my opinion. And those guys in Masada, they had made their own decision to do that, But, so times, interesting times. Yeah. And that's not very well known, this whole history, about the wiring of those ships. As I say, I found it in only one place, and I think that there must be lots of shame that they even have been thinking about a thing like that, there's no end of assholes, and assholes are in all nations, Yeah. Now, I have bought
Oh, you brought here a
I
number
have bought a number
of
of
different things.